Dear guests and participants, as I already said, I'm Diana Movsisyan from Yerevan office, Armenia. And during today's webinar, I and my colleagues from Russia and Kazakhstan will provide you with an interesting overview about the situation with COVID-19, the problems related to it, and the governmental support that is being provided by different programs aiming to facilitate the life of the people and businesses in a new economic reality. So let me start with my presentation, and just prior to start it, I just would like to note that should you have any questions or requests on clarifications or any details, we will be happy to provide you with the answers and further details at the end of our webinar during our questions and answers sessions. For that, we will have another 7 to 10 minutes. Please keep them in mind. But I will share with you my experience. It's better to write them down, not to forget. So don't forget your questions. And let us start. Let me show you my presentation and let us go. Well, facts on COVID. Here you see. On March 16, Armenia declared a state of emergency, which is more or less the same like in other countries. And actions include closure of schools, universities, prohibition of events, restrictions of entry into Armenia. Borders were closed for passengers transportation. However, cargo was allowed. It's still allowed. And the government introduced strict quarantine measures to last. Initially, it was planned to last for 1 week. However, these measures were extended from April through May 14, 2020. So currently, we're under quarantine. There is an interesting information. Till the beginning of this week, all people were obliged to carry their passports and self-declaration form like in other countries. However, it's worth mentioning that the restrictions on free movement are partially removed, and the ban on public transport is still in force. However, some of business activities were allowed. This is the manufacturing industry, construction, wholesale, retail, trade. Trading malls remain banned. Public catering is allowed only in open air. This is about our exit and from quarantine. However, if we see the most affected sectors of economy, we could say that relatively strong adverse impact was on tourism, aviation, cafes, restaurants, and other related sectors, and the forecast remains the same. They are still under negative impact of COVID pandemics. If we take the baseline scenario for the whole year of 2020, 40% reduction in tourism revenues is assumed, which is about 500 million United States dollars, which is quite a lot for a country like Armenia with 3 million of population. What was very interesting, I forgot to mention that telecom, healthcare, and agriculture and infrastructure industry were relatively resilient. And in my opinion, this is because of high demand of communication means and constant access to internet. And not surprising is the situation with healthcare, agriculture. And on this slide, you can see that in an attempt to facilitate our life and help to mitigate with possible negative consequences of this virus, the government of the Republic approved 14 measures aimed to neutralize COVID-19 economic and social consequences in Armenia. All 14 are currently being implemented, and the recipients of support in most of the points have also to comply with certain standards and rules. In my opinion, the last and the most actually state support program which I like the most, it was a student support program that allowed more than 3,500 students to receive state support from 100 or 75% of tuition fees, depending on the average grade point. And you can see the continuation on this slide, the rest of the support programs. You can see that recipients of social benefits that are Besides students, they are also pregnant women whose husbands are laid off, hired employees of affected sectors, household with children under 18, certain micro businesses as well. And gas and electricity subscribers are also provided with 50% off the bills for gas and electricity. At this stage, the government is going to focus and is focused on the effective completion of the already adopted program and is not planning to implement new ones yet. Overall, you can see the most of the funds that were provided by the government as an economic assistance to business and people. The Treasury account again collected significant amounts of donations for fight against COVID-19. The World Bank, U.S. Department of State, International Monetary Fund, and the European Union provided again significant amounts of support that mainly will be directed towards supplying medical devices, equipment, training for medical and laboratory staff. Others also include support to small and medium enterprises and business community. Social and humanitarian assistance as well is included in this list of to get this donation, to get this support, and they are expected to be affected by the coronavirus outbreak, including socially vulnerable members of society. And on this slide, I put here the risks and challenges that mainly are forecasted that Armenia will be faced with these risks and challenges in the nearest future. According to very optimistic forecast and the baseline scenario provided by economists in mid-April, envisaging the start of a gradual recovery in the Q3 of 2020, GDP will be expected to moderate to 1.7%, which is quite an optimistic forecast, in my opinion. And this becomes quite probable given the worsening health, economic, and financial outcomes across the world, and poverty would increase under this scenario. The inflation up to now, you can see that due to strong and relatively strong policy of the central bank, until now they can and they could manage the inflation. However, inflation up to now was within the frames that were expected, but based on optimistic forecast, it will be due to pressures on the exchange rate, and it could easily actually push the inflation up. However, healthy banking sector and some fiscal buffers will be able to partially mitigate these risks. And this, as I said, this is very optimistic scenario and very optimistic forecast. However, we collected this information at the time of this information is available at the time of its collection and presentation of preparation of this presentation, and data and analysis are assumptive. And as more information becomes available, these projections will be changed accordingly. And considering huge economic impact on the economy of the country, government considered elimination of those restrictions that were initially implemented in the country. And as I said, so most of the businesses started to operate. However, I think that this is the wise approach to prevent the country from economic collapse and increase of poverty. So we could talk about scenarios, or we could evaluate the possible negative impact of all this Q1 and Q2 only in the beginning of the next quarter, or at the end of the year, to evaluate what was the most affected, what the areas were most affected, and what are the main, the most effective means that were undertaken by the government. So far, I came to the end of my presentation, and I would like to thank you for your attention. I hope it was useful, and it's my pleasure to. It was my something went wrong with my presentation, and it seems and it's my pleasure to ask you whether you have any questions, and you can write them in our chat. I will wait for a while. So in case you...
Diana, this is Ekaterina from Moscow Schneider Group. Maybe we will wait when participants will write their questions, but I am already have a question. Please let us know what kind of supportive measures are introduced in Armenia regarding taxes. This is a very interesting question here in Russia, so maybe you will provide some small details about Armenia.
Actually, if I understood you correct, just correct me if I'm wrong. You meant whether any tax delays or any incentives, specifically incentives, were provided to small and medium enterprises. You mean that?
Yes.
At this stage, no tax delays. So the taxes were paid on due time, and all the taxation reports were provided on due time. So no incentives or no delays in this area was implemented by the government, except the support programs that I've already mentioned in my presentation. We will see maybe in future, depending on the further development of this scenario. Maybe in future they will consider something, but not at this stage, actually.
Thank you for your answer.
Thank you very much. And it seems no questions at this stage. However, just as I said, don't forget to write them down. And I would like to provide my colleague from Moscow, Marco. The floor is yours, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome from our side, from Russian side. We have split our Russian part in a general part, which I will do, and the text part will a colleague will do. I'm director of the Schneider Group and leading the CFO services. So let's jump right into the update. What is relevant to know before we start with details about support? Yesterday there was a meeting of the government with the president, and it was decided, or has been decided, that the lockdown, which is until 11th of May, will gradually released, and in a way that the regions, the 89 regions of Moscow, based on certain criteria, individually can go where some sort of 3-step ending the lockup. In Moscow, it looks like that the self-isolation is prolonged over the 12th, and I saw today an official publication that from beginning of the 12th of May, everybody has to wear a mask in public transport. Just if you're in Moscow, this is a requirement from the 12th on. So this is a short update. Nothing else in concrete about how the lockdown is then removed is currently available to us. So I cannot share any new information, but it looks like that from the 12th on, we will gradually reopen, depending on how the coronavirus infection rate then responds to the abolishment of some certain self-isolation rules. That's open to debate. So when we talk about state support for Russian entities or companies affected by the crisis, there are mainly 3 types of groups that can apply for help currently. One is which is called system relevant companies. Second is companies that are located by an industry heavily affected by the crisis. Third is small and medium enterprises. The details are coming now. There was a list of the government with 600 something system relevant companies. This meanwhile has changed. the Ministry of Economic Development has sorted out criteria by which you can be put on the list. Each ministry that observes a specific industry, like I have mentioned here, Minprontorg and the Minister of Energy, has already published lists with 250 or roughly 100 entities that are supposed to be system relevant. There is expectation that each industry will then come up with a similar list. There is an interesting new development. As of today, we learned that the government prepares a change in the legislation that would exclude any company with more than 51% foreign capital to be put on that list. Currently, there are several companies with foreign capital on the list, like VW, so Volkswagen, like IKEA, like McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, and something in that. This company, because they are all foreign capital funded, would then precluded to be put on the list if this Законный project becomes legislation. Heavily affected industries, there's a decision with 11 parts of the industry. I show a later slide with a detailed explanation who is in and who is not. Small and medium enterprises. Small and medium enterprises, the legislation goes back to 2007. Currently, there is a public register. If you're a Russian company without foreign capital, you file every month to be put into the list. What is the difference? We have small, which is up to 800 rubles per year revenue and up to 100 employees, and medium, which is 250 employees or not more than 2 billion rubles revenues without VAT. Always the last year. There is a specific treatment for SMEs where the participant is a foreign company and holds more than 51%. Then the regulation says if this is the case and the Russian SME wants to apply for the status as an SME, then the foreign participant must also meet the criteria for the SME in Russia. This works in a way that you engage a Russian auditor. The Russian auditor certifies the fulfillment of the criteria. The problem is there's only one spot between 1st and 5th of July per year in that situation with foreign capital. And so you can only register once a year an SME, which is controlled by a foreign company. In addition, every measure for SMEs, every support is only valid for SMEs registered not after 1st March 2020. So what we have on support, mainly small for SMEs, who are not releasing more than 10% of their staff can apply for a subsidy, and this is the only subsidy currently in Russia existent for 12,130 rubles, which is the minimum legal salary in Russia currently. And if you pay more than this amount, then you get up to 12,000 repaid or subsidized by the state. You can apply for that over the site of the Federalny Налоговая Служба. This is the only, as I said, direct subsidy that we have currently in place. What else we have? We have a somewhat mix of loan replacements, salary loans, and so on and so forth. In short, the banks were subsidized by the state if they granting restructuring loans where the discount rate does not exceed 6%. the issue here is that this is still not for free. That means that if you applied for that loan and it has been granted to you, then you still have to pay that back somewhere, even if it is a moratorium, even if it's a balloon payment, you still have to pay it back in the future, which is may or may not a unsustainable additional financial burden. What else? For small and medium enterprises, Social Security installments were reduced by 100%. So the old rate was 30% for the amount exceeding the legal monthly salary. Now it is 15%, which is for SMEs at least something. But if you don't have cash to pay out any salary, then whatever the Social Security rate is irrelevant because you can't pay out anything. All state and municipal control checks are suspended, and again there is this restructuring loan agreement where I'm sorry, where you can apply for. What else do we have for SMEs and indirect support measurements? Indirect means that, for example, the banks, which is interesting only for banks that are granting loans, which are supposed to be high-risk loans, the high-risk loans, because they don't know if any of these SMEs can pay back the credit, they have changed the rules for devaluation some these distressed assets, which makes it easier for the companies to take on, or for the banks to take out such loans. Affected industries. Here is the list of affected industries. As you can imagine, everything which is hold completely stopped 100%, like air transport, culture, physical well-being, sport, travel agency, and so on and so forth. These are the so-called affected industries, and you will see there are some support measures if you are affected or a part of these affected industries, even if you're not an SME. If you are an SME and you are affected, then you can apply for a police times minimum salary, which is the mentioned 12,000 something, times duration in months. This is the maximum amount. It is, if it is for 6 months, interest free. If it is longer, for a year, say, then it's 4%. The problem is that it only currently the system works via Sberbank and VTB Bank and the so-called SME Bank. So if you're working, for example, for Raiffeisen, you cannot get anything currently in terms of these loan agreements. Affected industries, non-SME. What we have here, tax deferrals and installments. My colleague Kate will detail you that out in a second. We have a bankruptcy moratorium. For that, I refer to several webinars we did at Schneider Group already with a very, very detailed presentation. Please go to our website and you find the information here. And there is a specific support for certain industries. Just to make sure that everybody is on the list here, please read it. If you have any questions, then you can ask by mail, but to save time, I skip that. I also have here to have it on the screen for you. The Moscow City support. The Moscow City support is based on 3 packages. I will not detail any of the slides to save time, but the main part of the support was done in the 3rd package. The 3rd package is a subsidization of loans for small and medium enterprise up to 6%. Unfortunately, this works only for Sberbank. And the other part is if you have a lease agreement with the city of Moscow and the landlord is the city of Moscow, then you can get half a reduction of your lease by 50%, and you get a full deferral of the property tax. This is here on the list. This from my side, as I said, to save time. I cannot go in detail about the city of Moscow subsidies. But if you have any questions concerning city of Moscow, please write it in the chat and I will answer it. But given the time, I will hand over to my colleague Ekaterina Lakatosh, our tax leader, who will then detail out the taxes for you. In the meantime, thank you very much. Katja, please go ahead.
Hello, dear colleagues. My name is Lakatosh Ekaterina. I'm a tax team leader, Moscow office of Schneider Group, and I will continue talking about governmental support of business in Russia. I will talk mostly about taxes. Here is the overview of main tax measures which are introduced in Russia. Most of them are stipulated by regulation of Russian government, which was issued in the starting of April, and it includes the following measures. First measure is postponement of tax payment for small and medium-sized enterprises. It is related to postponement of taxes for the previous year. This payment should be done within next 6 months. Regarding taxes which should be paid after the first quarter of current year, the postponement is for also 6 months, but it does not include VAT and taxes which are paid by tax agents. What is related to social security contributions, first it was prescribed that only micro enterprises can postpone the payments, but now it is prescribed for all small and medium-sized enterprises. For all taxpayers, the time terms of submission of tax return was postponed. It is related to submission of all tax returns during the period of from March till May of current year. Means these time terms was extended by 3 months. However, the deadline for submission of tax return and value-added tax and settlements of insurance contributions for the first quarter of current year has been extended only 15th of May. Detailed information about all time terms which were changed you can find on our site in the relevant newsletter. With regards to time terms of payments of all these taxes, please note that they are shifted, but only to the first working days. At present, we are living in a regime which is called regime of non-working days. That means that companies may not pay tax on time deadlines which are prescribed by tax code. But when this regime of non-working days will be over, we are expecting it to be over on the 12th of May, the companies should pay the taxes. And in the current situation is such that the companies still need to calculate the tax, even the time terms of declaration submission was postponed. Means it is only formality, because tax has to be paid anyway. The other measures which I would like to outline is postponement of time terms related to control measures in tax fair. Tax field audits were suspended till the end of the May, and at the same time office tax audits are going on, and the companies are still getting requests for presentation of documents and explanation. So the deadlines for answers to such requests were also postponed. They were postponed from 10 to 20 days, depending upon the type of this request, and the time terms to answer start at the first working day, which is expected at 12th of May. Actually, till the end of May, tax authority are not sending claims for payment taxes, fees, and social contributions, and they are not issuing decisions to collect the taxes. The deadlines were increased by 6 months, and with regards to other measures which are stipulated, I would like to draw your attention to deferrals and tax payments by installments. This measure is stipulated for the companies which are in the list, or which are working in the industries which are in the list of affected industries by crisis. Such measures like deferral and tax payment by installments are prescribed by tax code, but the order of getting these these deferrals is very complicated. For this special occasion, the order of getting such benefits is changed, so it became much more easy for the company to get deferrals and tax payments by installments. This special order is stipulated in regulation issued by government. Here on the slide you can find criteria which should be met for filing application for this measure. I will not spend your time to tell about it. You can read it, or it is also placed on our site. So here on this slide you can find detailed information regarding what kind of options are existing regarding time terms. You can see that a deferral can be get for the period of time from 3 months till 1 year, and a payment by installments can be get for 3 years time period. It is information for all taxpayers from the list of affected industries. And such companies like strategic companies, city forming taxpayers from the list of industries have different possibilities. Here you can find that they can apply for deferrals with time limits from 6 months to 1 year, and payment by installments from 3 to 5 years, depending upon their economic situation. The main condition of deferrals and tax payments by installment. You have to bear in mind that applications should be filed by December 1st of current year, and from the day of application submission to the day of decision, taxes cannot be exacted by tax authorities, and the interests are not accrued from the deadline for tax payments. Means the main thing of deferral and tax payments by installment is that taxes which are not paid in time are not exacted from the company forcefully, and the taxes can be paid later and without interests. This is the main measure, the main point of this measure. And in the end of my presentation, I would like to draw your attention to the questions which are most frequently asked by our clients. Here is the quick summary. The question number 1, the company is not a SME and works in an industry which is not included in the list of affected industries. What kind of supportive measures are available for this company in tax sphere? For such companies, the only one measure is stipulated, about which my colleague Marko said that for them there was a decrease of social contribution payments. The rate became 15%, and this, if the company is still not SME, then it makes sense to think of obtaining this status in order to get this this option, in order to get possibility to apply it. The company the second is sorry. I answered to the second question, and the first question was regarding that the company is not SME and not included in the list. So for these companies, only such supportive measures like postponement of time terms, semi-registered, but all criteria are met. If this is the Russian company with Russian participation, company has to go on the site of Federal Tax Service and file an application of appellation in the simple form on the site. And if it is a foreign company, the procedure was described by Marko. It has to be done through auditor. And the last question is, the company continues working according to the presidential decrees about non-working days. Are there any changes regarding deadlines for report submission and tax payments? With regards to report submissions, for such companies are the same deadlines as for other taxpayers. Means reports should be submitted 3 months later than it was supposed to be. But tax payments should be have been done in the time how it was prescribed by tax court. This is all what I wanted to communicate you during my presentation. If you have questions, please write them, or you can write me on a mail later, which is on the screen now, and your questions will be answered. I will wait for a little bit. Maybe you will write your questions, and If there will be no question, we will continue. Okay, I pass the word to my colleague from Kazakhstan, Maria Nazarova.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Ekaterina. My name is Maria Nazarova. As Katya introduced already me, and I'm tax team leader in Kazakhstan office of Schneider Group. And today I will briefly talk about Kazakhstani state support of population and business during pandemic situation. And let me start. A state emergency regime was announced in Kazakhstan from 16th of March 2020 at 8 o'clock. On 19th of March, quarantine was announced in two largest cities of Kazakhstan, in Nur-Sultan and Almaty. Quarantine measures were very fast, and on 30th of March, we have already 6 more cities that were announced as quarantine 1. From 30th of March to actually 30th of April, population of Almaty and Nur-Sultan were not allowed to leave their homes, with exception of going to food stores or pharmacy or any other not prohibited cases. All businesses actually stopped their working from offices, and where it was possible, they started working remotely and from their homes. No education and schools were working at this time, and actually it continues right today. All measures and educations are done, if possible, remotely via internet resources. Large-scale sanitary and anti-epidemic measures are carried out, and suspended all entertainment and sport events, including family celebrations. Restricted all entry to the country and exit from the Kazakhstan. From customs side, for import, there was introduced green corridor for the import of food products, and there were restrictions for export. For example, there was restrictions for personal equipment, protective equipment, and certain food products from the country. As a population support, the government announced the main tool for ensuring employment. It was employment roadmap, for implementation of which the government already provided about 1 trillion Kazakhstani tenge. This employment roadmap is expected to create over 240,000 new job places. At that, the government provides one-time financial assistance payment in amount of 85,000 Kazakhstani tenge for living and lifting for unemployed but hired for roadmap projects. And this payment is provided in addition to wages, regular wages. The government also provides payments of 42,500 Kazakhstani tenge for people who are unemployed due to imposition of state emergency, and also provides free grocery sets on regular basis for large families who are unemployed and with disability of all groups. Going to business support, government stipulated concessional lending for working capital for small and medium enterprises in the amount of 600 billion Kazakhstani tenge for 1 year at rate of 8%. Individual entrepreneurs and small medium enterprises are provided with deferred payments on loans for principal and interest for up to 90 days. Also, Kazakhstani enterprises are eligible to communicate with Atomikian to testify their force majeure situation. And what else? The final lending rate for domestic producers was introduced and unified at Within tax support of business, the Kazakhstan government granted a delay on submission on annual tax returns, for which its deadline was 31st of March, but it became 31st of May. There was provided deferred payment of taxes by canceling a penalty for 1 quarter. A tax exemption is provided for individual entrepreneurs for this calendar year. Property tax exemption is provided for trade objects, theaters, exhibitions, sports facilities during this year. And also property tax exemptions are provided for strips at aerodromes and airport terminals, as well as for individuals engaged in private practice for the period from 1st of April till 1st of October. Deferred tax liability is provided for small and medium enterprises for the period until 1st of June 2020. Deadline for provision of responses on tax notifications issued in the period from 15th of March is suspended till 1st of June. The cameral control for the period of emergency is cancelled, and notifications based on the results of cameral control are not issued right now, and there was significant reduction of number of tax and customs inspections which is provided on site. Also, government provided incentives for employees and employers. They introduced correction coefficient of 0, which is applied to wages, taxes, and contributions. Actually, it is provided for small and medium enterprises as well as for large enterprises, which are in the list that is stipulated by the government of Kazakhstan. And for large enterprises, this 0 coefficient can be applied for the period till 1st of July, whereas for small and medium enterprises, they are provided with such coefficient till the 1st of October. With regard to VAT incentive, exemption from VAT is provided for import of agricultural biological assets, including cattle and breeding chickens. 8% VAT instead of 12% VAT is applied for supplies and import of goods included in the list of first socially significant products. Residents of Kazakhstan engaged in activity of air passenger transport are provided with suspension of deadline for payment of reverse charge VAT with regard to maintenance and legal support of aircraft leasing transactions. It is till 1st of January 2021. At the same time, this reverse charge VAT can be offset against output VAT by these companies if they pay this reverse charge VAT within established deadline, I mean till 1st of January 2021. Government already allocated about $18 billion for fighting of coronavirus. At the same time, we see examples of losses of business sectors in Kazakhstan. For example, for trading chains, there was announced about 120 billion Kazakhstani tenge already were lost on the date of 20th of April. Kazakhstan Airlines announced 235 billion Kazakhstani tenge as losses for this period of pandemic situation. Kazakhstan government already started the process of returning back to work for businesses. The first stage was announced on 20th of April, and production and construction spheres of business, they are allowed for returning to work. The second stage is from 27th of April 2020, and at this stage, transport and warehousing spheres were allowed to return to work. Third stage was announced on 4th of May, and the list was actually spreaded. There were added spheres on non-food shops, photo and flower shops, barber shops, medical centers, dental clinics, companies with operation of real estate, advertising agencies, lawyers, notaries, microfinancing organizations, insurance companies, exchange offices, and IT companies. They are allowed to return to work, however, they should pass anti-epidemic audits. Also, people are allowed to go outside for sport exercises and trainings outdoors. Children are allowed to play in the yards. Air flights between Nur-Sultan and Almaty, they were renewed. Also from Nur-Sultan and Almaty, flights to Kızıldağ, Petropavlovsk, Uсть-Каменогорск, and Semey also were renewed. As of today, it is planned that on 11th of May, emergency state will be cancelled, however, with keeping quarantine measures, and if the situation in Kazakhstan will not become worse. As of 7th of May, the statistics looks as follows. Confirmed cases are more than 4,000, recovered cases are more than 1,000, and death cases, unfortunately, 29. Actually, this is all from my side. If you have any questions, you're welcome to ask, so please do not hesitate.
Thank you, Maria. It was actually very interesting to see what type of measures were undertaken in different countries. And as was promised, now we have a questions and answer session. So we're waiting for your questions, should you have them. Don't worry if you miss this part or skip them. You can also always ask your questions by our official web emails and or posting them at our website or Facebook pages. So don't hesitate to put them there. We will be glad to answer them. So let me see. There is someone is typing. Let us wait for a question. Oh. Seems the question is, do you have any measures not related to small and medium enterprises in Armenia? And when do you expect that economy will return to its level of 2019? Well, I'm not a very interesting question, actually. Yeah, I was wondering the same. But the most optimistic forecast is that the situation will, at least will be till the next year, 2021 at least. And only then we can say what the situation of economy, whether it was worse than, or whether whether it recovers, or whether it's still in stagnation. So I think the most optimistic part is to wait to 2021 and to see what happens then. And related to your next question, do you have any measures not related? I think I need some details or some clarification related to your question. Do you mean other measures for other businesses, or you mean measures related to physical persons? I think I need more details or more clarifications from you. If you don't mind, please type it, or you can always ask your question by sending me an email, I think. No, yeah, I see. Okay, your question not other business not being small and medium enterprises, not at this stage now. At least based on information available from now, as of today, I don't have such an information that we have other support for other businesses. You're welcome. So any other questions? We still have time. Someone else is typing as well. Well, what about the treatment of non-performing loans in Russia, Armenia, and Kazakhstan? I would like to invite my colleagues from Russia and Kazakhstan. We could start this discussion maybe from Russia, Marco.
Okay.
Think
Yeah.
about it. Yeah,
So, for Russia, there is currently a moratorium in place, a 6 months moratorium. That means that within that period, if somebody defaults on a loan, which you obviously mean with non-performing loan, then you can still go to court and file a claim, but even if the claim is accepted for the amount of 6 months, you won't get a title to execute against the debtor. So that means that for the 6 months, the status of a non-performing loan is locked as is. You can go to court. You can when the courts are open. Currently the courts are closed, but presumably from next week on, you can file your claim. You can make a case. You can obtain a decision by the court in favor of you, but you will not going to execute this title. You are granted by the court for the 6 months moratorium we have currently in place. That is how Russia treats non-performing loan. I hope this answers your questions for Russia.
Yeah, thank you, Marco.
The other colleagues may, if you have a specific treatment in Armenia and Kazakhstan, please jump in.
Yeah, for Armenia, I would like to add that the banks provided some vacations or some delays in payment of loans, just to make sure that creditors are not in this list of non-payers, and that's it actually. If you mean that on the governmental on the governmental level, there is unfortunately there is nothing. Actually, it's again up to banks to decide whether to provide them with some delays or not. However, most of the banks at this stage, they provided this vacations for non-performance of obligations, at least for 3 months. After that, we will see what happens. And so that's it for Armenia, and hope I answer your question. So, Maria, what about Kazakhstan? What can you say?
From Kazakhstan side, I just wanted to add that individual entrepreneurs and small medium enterprises, they are actually provided with deferred payments of loans, and it is provided for 90 calendar days for interest and for principal payment.
Yeah, the same is here, actually, more or less the same. Well, so I think that was it for today, and I hope. Oh, there is a question. What about the exports from Armenia? The road across the Georgia is closed, and the transfer are very restricted, and so on. I'm not sure what does it mean about the exports from Armenia. If you mean that, yeah, the road across Georgia is closed. Actually, borders are closed. Land borders, they are closed. And avia transfers, yes, you're right, are very restricted. So what about it? At this stage, I cannot say you anything I cannot provide you with any precise information about when they will be open or when these restrictions will be removed totally. But the export of goods, it's really under restrictions. It is restricted and partially limited. So because of this very announced situation, but I'm not sure what do you mean about what about the export from Armenia? I mean, what are the ways of export or how to export goods from Armenia? If you wish, you could clarify it. You could wait. So someone is typing. I assume you mean export of goods from Armenia to other countries. And for the goods that has to be exported, the borders are closed, but only for the restrictions are works to be done on the customs border related to this quarantine measures. But however, the export of goods from Armenia is not prohibited, except for the goods that are currently under restriction, because that could be medical masks, gloves, or sanitizers, something like that. And this is restricted, temporarily restricted, but other goods are not. And are foreign banks in free countries supported? For Armenia, if you mean whether they get some support from government, not at this stage, at least.
For Russia, regarding the treatment of foreign banks, presumably you mean bank with foreign capital, because there are no foreign banks that can work as a bank in another country. If you want to have a license to perform things, full license as a Russian bank, you have to be a Russian juridical person. There is no different treatment between foreign banks or banks with foreign capital and Russian banks, if you want, like Raiffeisen supposed to be a foreign bank and say Sberbank supposed to be a Russian bank, except what I have said at the beginning of my speech. All banks are belonging to the list of system relevant companies. You can assume that, at least if it's a large bank with foreign capital. And as I've said, there is currently a development within the Russian government to exclude any company, including bank, from the list of system relevant companies if the foreign capital is more than 51%, so the majority must be owned by foreign banks or foreign companies. Then this could be an issue in the future. This is a Zakon o projekt, so there's a project. It's not legislative currently, but if this happens, then you have indeed a difference in the treatment between banks depending on where the capital comes from. That's from Russia currently.
From Kazakhstan side, I can just add that we do not have any supportive acts for banks during pandemic situation, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. Well, thank you very much. It seems we come to the end of our today's webinar. I do really very much hope it was useful. And stay with us, follow us, and you can see about our further developments and further upcoming webinars on different interesting themes during this changing times. So I would like to thank you very much. I would like to thank my colleagues from Russia, from Kazakhstan, and stay healthy and safe, and have a nice day.